Hello, everybody.
Saturday morning, 7 TV with Karl and Peter, and it's still me, and we remember to turn the volume on as well, which is nice. Good morning, gentlemen, question mark.
It is. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All the better for being once again joined by you consummate professionals. I'm
Did they see, did they see the chaos like 2 seconds ago?
they heard a little bit. The world did hear a little bit of you saying something like I can't spell fantasy, which, you know, slightly undermines your position as an authority on the topic, which luckily today we're not talking about fantasy. Oh, yes we are.
Can we talk about 7TV fantasy, which is the way I spell it every single time I try to type?
But there's so many ways we could mispronounce fantasy that let's not. Because, you know, we are representing Edge Hill University Press this morning as well.
We are, yeah.
So there won't even be a mention of a bathroom break, just to make sure that we keep everything on the level. Good morning, boys and girls, and everyone else. Men, women, children, others, they, thems that are with us this morning too, of which there seems to be a fair few of you already. Nobody's commenting though, because I'm just amazed that as soon as it started, they weren't kind of going, oh look, there's Karl, he's gorgeous.
What you're trying to do is you're just trying to prime the comments. Is what you're doing there. You're priming the pump. I can see what you're up to.
Yeah. You know, I'm just trying to put you in a good position where they appreciate the quality that they're getting this morning. Because we already know that Peter's mildly concerned about his weight and stuff. So, you know, we don't want to bring the attention onto him.
I can put the bag on my head if it helps.
Well, yeah, you could do that, I suppose.
Yeah,
the weird thing that I've just noticed before we really kick off, the weird thing I've noticed is I can't actually comment, which is odd.
Can you not?
Are you seeing the comments okay?
I'm firing away with the comments.
Right.
Oh, there's loads. We've got Justin's on there, Jersey's on there.
I can see the comments, but I can't comment either for some strange reason.
Yeah, there's a little weird thing happening on my end where I can't see the comments this morning, folks, so I do apologise. I don't know how to fix that.
Helen was on there now. She's saying, oh, look, Karl, he's ... And then she can't do it. Bless her.
Say it.
I like Jez a lot. I really like Jez now, after that comment.
Okay, I've got the feeling you're just making this up now and there's not actually comments. You're just saying this to make me feel bad. Yeah, this is very strange. I'm on my own management page, folks, and normally I can sort of see what everyone's saying and I can reply, and I get the opportunity if, you know, Justin says something like bit potty mouthed where I can like hold the comment or choose to release it. But I've got nothing. Yeah, I can even see that we do have a chat rate this morning. I do apologize. So yeah. I don't know what I can do, and I'm half scared that if I do anything serious, I'll end up killing the stream.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'll do comments. Then, if I'm the only one that's in charge, I will respond back. So if I look vaguely glassy-eyed, it's because I'm looking over there. I'll sort that. Be fine.
Thanks, Phil.
It'll be grand. Yeah, Justin's just sent me a lovely message to my phone going, comments! No, Justin, there.
Well, I clicked on the preview little link that you put out earlier and just had that running in the background for ages. So
yeah, that's all very well, but you know, since I've got the big red button that says end live stream now, you would sort of think that YouTube would be going, oh, this guy really needs to see what people are
Really know what
saying.
we're doing. Teething problems. We've been away for a while. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And I can even turn the comments off. I can deny yous all for the fact that I'm not getting to see them. I can press this
I'll let
button
you look.
and deny yous the chance to see comments at all. Who can send messages? Anyone? Yes. Very odd. Okay, well, we're just going to have to live with the fact that, Karl, you're in charge of comments.
That's all right. Jez is already insulting you, so it's fine.
There's nothing new there. I'm just going to insult everybody, especially when I bring up all the pictures of the students, every single one of them involved in this, by the looks of things. And I can systematically do comments on their haircuts. So, Peter, no, Karl, I'm not really going to. I'm not that cruel. So, Peter,
Yes.
I mean, you, the university, fine job done, but surely this has to have been the most difficult circumstances to have achieved such work under for anything.
I think it works so well because the students just took to it really quickly. So we started in October 2019, and by March 2020 we were all online. Everybody made the shift over. It was really smooth, and it gave us an advantage because it meant we could keep working right the way through summer 2020, which when we were working on Pulp, everything sort of came to an end at the end of the academic year, which was like sort of May, June time. And then we picked everything up with a new design team, with some of the old design team members too, in October, after that summer. So this meant that we had a much longer kind of production time and writing time. And I think that probably is reflected in the difference between 7TV Fantasy and 7TV Pulp. I mean, 7TV Fantasy is at least kind of twice the size, really, of 7TV Pulp. And it was that extra development time we had, strangely thanks to COVID, that really worked well. So because the students were used to working online before the summer recess, they just carried on working on it right the way through. And really, if the students hadn't been as committed, if the design team hadn't been as committed as they were, it wouldn't have worked. But they were there every week online, and we worked really, really efficiently. So it's really credit to them and their commitment to the project from the very beginning, right the way through COVID, right up until now, really, that enabled us to do it.
Brilliant. It's tremendous work. Karl, you obviously have to be exceptionally pleased with the finished product because, I mean, okay, we've had all the other lovely 7TVs, but having had even just a quick look through this box, I think it has to be said this one outshines in terms of the content.
I think we've slightly got better at it. With Pulp, we were sort of finding our way a little bit with how to kind of work with an external development team. But by the time it came around to Fantasy, we sort of knew it and weirdly knew how to schedule it properly over the kind of the 2 years. So I could kind of slightly be ahead of the game with the other stuff that runs in parallel with the kind of the graphic design and stuff of it. But in terms of the content, yeah, it's just what Peter said. You know, we had a huge amount of profiles, and the team worked on all of those. We got those and all of the little extra bits like the artifact cards, the new stuff like magic in there. That was all worked on as well. And I think we were about 8 weeks ahead of schedule by the time we got to the summer. So it just allowed us to kind of just do a little bit more and add a little bit more into the box in regards to written content and look and feel of it as well. So yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with it. We've had some lovely feedback over the last couple of weeks as we've been sending out kind of preview copies and a few of the advanced pre-order stuff as well. So I'm chuffed. Really am. I'm like a proud parent, and it's just lovely. Everyone opened their boxes the other day, kind of in a big group, kind of hug thing, and it was just lovely to see everyone just so enthusiastic about it and kind of proud of what they've achieved over the last 22 months. Because it's strange days, and they've the whole team's done remarkably well. So, yeah, love it.
Well, fun enough, you're just saying about everybody being as proud as Punch. So let's let the boys and girls at home enjoy a little moment of that, because by the power of some redundant kind of technology that I'm allegedly in charge of, there are the boys and girls appearing on your screen watching us. A little overlay over Karl's face, because we've all seen enough of his face, frankly. And if we hit play...
Ooh, there's an American one telling me I'm being recorded.
Okay, so we're recording now. I'm going to go. Right, is everyone ready to open their box sets?
Yes!
Yeah. 2, 1, go, 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 go!
Waiting so long to do this.
18 months away.
There it is.
Oh, it smells. It's a bad smell.
It does have the new game smell.
New car smell.
Look at all the plastic. Delicious.
All the plastic!
Oh my god. A delicious donut.
On the blaster blips.
Donut is beautiful.
Oh,
I love
look at
it.
him.
Oh, I got green. They said snacks with it. Oh my god.
Okay, I'm just going to pause that, because the unmitigated chaos of that many people simultaneously screaming their pleasure, that almost makes up for the lack of noise around us today, because this would be a UK Games Expo kind of shindig.
We have referred to that for about a month as the squee. We just wanted to record everyone going, woo! For posterity, so love them. Yeah, but they've been fantastic, and it was lovely to see everybody. There was a real end of term feel when we recorded that the other day. And they should be really, really proud of what they've done, and also because he's there, huge thank you to Peter, because he's got managed all of this over the last 2 years when 7TV is extra stuff on the side for the university, and Peter's workload has been unbelievable in higher education for the last 2 years with everything that's happened. So it's just amazing that we managed to get something that's kind of bigger, bolder, and better than we've had before. So thank you, Peter.
Oh, you're welcome. Again, the only reason it's been successful is everybody has worked really hard on it. The fact that the team was so committed right the way through made my job a lot easier. If I'd have had to chase people to write things, sort of keep hassling them for turning stuff in, it wouldn't have worked. But we didn't. They were great from beginning to end, really. So yeah, a perfect kind of combination of people working together.
But I have to say this, guys, and there's no sort of false flattery to this either. The energy of their little unboxing there, I totally get that, because that was their labour made flesh. The excitement and the glee on their faces, seeing something that they've worked on. And if I remember from our previous chats, Peter, this is like an extracurricular sign up that they do with you. This isn't like a forced part of their course or anything else. This is, do you want to do this? Do you want to be involved in this project? It's extra work on top of your coursework.
Yeah, I mean, we do it as very much a kind of formal thing. So all of the interns that were appointed had to go through an application and interview process. So Karl and I interviewed everybody, and we appointed a select number of people from that. And they all know that they're going to be devoting all of their Wednesday afternoons, which is when we usually meet. And it's usually 2 till 5, something like that. And then there'll be extra work for them to do. So they start off by watching a whole bunch of fantasy movies, and then distilling the content of those movies and TV shows down to ideas for the archetypes and for special effects and star qualities. And so from the very beginning, they're really doing proper research and thorough research on the sort of source material. And from there on in, they're just encouraged to revise and resubmit and develop. So Karl and I have tried to make the experience for the students as much a professional experience as we possibly can, which was the objective when we first started doing this 4 years ago. And I think we've succeeded in doing that. Certainly some of the students from Pulp have gone on to do really interesting things. And I'm hoping the same is true for those members of the team who will be graduating next month. And then some of the team are going to be with us for another year. And hopefully they might reapply for whatever project we do next.
But
Some of them are freelancing with me right now.
Yeah.
Just the other day. So it's two of them are busying away, and there's room for more.
But the beauty of this, and it's shown in their faces, as I say, the fact that this was a voluntary sign up. The professional aspect of it is understandable. At the end of the day, Karl, this is your livelihood. This is your IP, your reputation's on the line. But fair play to you. You are opening the doors to allow other people to play in your playground, students to learn and develop, to push their minds, to try new things, and shape your product line, which is a huge sort of effort of trust on your part too.
I know it might sound a bit naive, but that has never ever really occurred to me, that part of it. I had every faith from what we've done that would be grand. I don't honestly mean that, but it was more, that excitement when you've done something and you've created something. That's kind of why I got into publishing, and the whole point of this was to give the guys a bit of a commercial experience and get that buzz for the first time, because there's the majority of the interns are for creative writing, and there's loads of writing opportunities for people out there in all different sectors and in different organisations. So it's just to kind of open them up to that. Look, you can be writing copy for a website or for a marketing post or some technical stuff, writing profiles or some narrative bits. There's loads of opportunities for you to get work once you leave university, and that's really why we were doing it. And I hope that they've kind of given them a sense of that over the last couple of years.
Oh, sorry, I just blew up the TV there a minute ago.
I should really say thank you to Karl for trusting us, though, from day one. When we first started working on Pulp, and I sort of came to him with the idea, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And as you said, Andy, it's Karl's IP, and we are always conscious that we're writing with someone else's livelihood in mind. Everybody wants to do their best anyway, so that's always a kind of positive place to begin from. And then Karl this year, largely again thanks to COVID in a really odd way, Karl's been able to be much more involved with the development of 7TV Fantasy than Pulp, because when we were doing Pulp, Karl was developing 7TV Apocalypse. I think we almost killed him in 2017 and 2019. But this time, I mean, we've been able to just communicate like this. We've been on Zoom every week, and it's meant that the students have had a much better experience, I think, rather than listening to me, which they have to do anyway as part of their seminars and lectures and stuff. They've actually got the managing director of the company bring in design ideas, commercial ideas. Because we were so far ahead of ourselves, we've been able to use the last 5 months for marketing. And really building up interest in the game and developing the blog. The blog for 7TV Pulp was very much a kind of afterthought, really, and it's okay. But the blog for 7TV Fantasy is really well developed. It's got lots of interesting content on about the production process, and there's the fake studio or the faux studio we created. There's lots of background material on that we were just having fun creating, films that never existed and people that never existed and stuff like that. So I think that level of trust and that level of engagement from Karl has just made the experience for the interns, for the design team this time, just so much richer.
Yeah.
So I have real thanks to Karl for trusting us, but also supporting us and being as committed. And it's taken extra time. And I should also acknowledge that Karl's also been popping in and seeing my first year Introduction to Writing for Narrative Games group and giving them steers as well. So Karl's become a real friend to Edge Hill, and we value his input in all kinds of ways really greatly. And it's a great relationship to have.
Chocolate Ocelot has just before Karl jumps in there, because I'll give him time to think of an answer that doesn't just sound like he's embarrassed. But Chocolate Ocelot has just jumped in. Question: is the Crooked Dice Edge Hill University collaboration unique, or are there other games companies working with higher education like this? Sorry, that was a boring, sensible question. There's no such thing as a boring, sensible question, Chocolate Ocelot. Well, there is. Even from my perspective, it's not wholly unique, but I think you guys have a particularly unique level of depth in the relationship. I know that the likes of Stuart Boone and whatnot, there's games guys and games developers have gone and done lectures at universities on gaming and games development, writing, creative writing, and game design. And I know that there's games companies have gone along to universities and done play testing with them for feedback. But I think this level of literally from blank pieces of paper to a product launch is, if not unique, it's rare.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing is Chaosium have been working with Taylor University in the US to publish a Call of Cthulhu adventure, which came out, I think, last year. But really, Call of Cthulhu is a really well-established product line, and they're writing a scenario for it. Really, each of the box sets we've done have been kind of a reconceptualization of 7TV. Each time it's been tweaked, and the rule systems have been amended or enriched slightly. So I think it probably is unique. I don't know for certain, but it would be something that I would recommend if there are any other academics out there listening and are interested in games and games design, that if you can get your students involved in games design with a commercial objective in mind, that's really essential, because it gives them such a boost on their CV. I mean, one of the reasons they were so very excited, not only seeing the work they've done, but also knowing that that's something they can take with them when they graduate to employers and say, well, what did you do at university apart from getting your degree? Well, we made this, in the hold of the box set, and there's something really substantial, really concrete there for them. And they're also now getting the pleasure of seeing feedback that's coming in on various 7TV groups. Say, this is great, I'm really enjoying it. And people seeing some of the in-jokes on the profile cards. If anybody wants to wade through 230 profile cards, there are some in-jokes in them. So
there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. There are some which are a very small group of people, like about 3 people in the world will understand a couple of the jokes if they can find them. Like that's the fun of doing it. Dropping those in.
Are there any gluten-free Easter eggs? Because I'm vegan.
You should put those in next time.
Jez was just asking, and funny, Jez's question, is the whole rule set in the box. Some people are going to turn around and go, well, that's an obvious question. It's not, but even I keep forgetting every time we do this, and it's been a few weeks when we've got to do Saturday morning 7TV, but every time we come back, there's new faces and there's new voices. We're not going to repeat the whole intricacies of what the whole world of 7TV is, but yes, for those tuning in, 7TV Fantasy is a buy the box, and everything you need to run 7TV Fantasy is in that box. Go away and be content. My 10 cents on lunch day is this, and any of the Weegamers will tell you, I like fantasy. And that's where I tend to leave that pin in the notice board. Fantasy is a gaming setting for me. D&D, yes, I'll play it and I'll show willing and I'll roll my dice and all the rest of it. But largely I can walk away from fantasy normally and kind of go, do what you want. Lord of the Rings, no thank you. I've got things to do with my life. I opened 7TV Fantasy and I had that glee moment that the students had, and we need to actually check that the people at home got to see them. Did I slide the bar? Did they only hear them or did they see the students?
Yeah.
They seen them? That's okay. That entire box, and I use the word in a positive context, reeks of proper fantasy. I mean, the Conan, the whole, what I would say fantasy should be about. It's kind of swashbuckling, big swords, big dragons, and all the rest of it. None of this let's go for a walk and throw a ring in a volcano sort of job. It was proper rich, from the smallest component to the biggest book, the text, the layout, the fonts, the artworks, everything just hit you in the face with true proper fantasy. And I've said to you before, Karl, you produce skeletons, and it's normally me, it's like, oh yeah, fantasy, lovely. Ooh, those skeletons are really pretty, I want to paint them. So, well done.
Well, I mean, the good thing about 7TV is, like we've said this hundreds of times, but it's the breadth of it. We try to kind of do everything. It's not like we just got a setting in one particular world. We go, no, you can play any of them. So if you like your grimdark kind of stuff, if you want your epic, ring tossing, volcano hitting fantasy, you can do that. If you want your pen and paper, world's favourite RPG stuff. We're trying to do the lot, and that's probably why the sets are big, because we try to cover all of those things. And there's, unlike with Pulp, where a lot of the profiles tend to be kind of job related, they're roles. With this, you've got particular monsters that do particular things. Like you can't, if you're going to do a cockatrice, you've got to do a cockatrice. You can't just call it, like a paralysing chicken and keep it generic like we try and do with some of the other stuff. It's there's loads and loads. We found when we added that kind of extra pen and paper genre, we got another like 60 profiles or something we had to put in. And a more business savvy man would probably put those in a separate supplement, but no, chuck them all in the box.
A more savvy businessman would have probably got somebody to sign an NDA and not let slip in the comments what the next game project from Crooked Dice is as well. And when they got the opportunity, they would slap them.
No, that's my colleague. We've talked about 70s, the 80s.
So there you go. You read it all first in the comments. 80s. I mean, we're trying to launch fantasy, and somebody's already asked, "What's the next one?" And somebody's already answered, going, "It's this." So that's
we're working on it now.
Yeah, that's lunch day shot in the foot there, boys. Because now all they're going to want to talk about is Miami Vice, Blade Runner, and Street Hawk. Oh dear, well there we go. It was all going so swimmingly well until the two usual clumpets went and threw a spanner in the works. I have to say the wee tweak that the wee touch that I saw nothing. Go away with your ray gun questions as well, Grey Primer, who I keep going to totally mispronounce that name too. Ray guns. They're phasers or nothing. The MDF templates this time round, as they were lovingly called in the unboxing video with the students, I love my donut. You designed the product, but you understand so little about it.
Dan was very hungry. I think that was just being reflected in that. It was just a bit peckish.
I think he's always hungry, that cup. Those seem to be a big step up in terms of the finish and spit and polish. I mean, they really are a lovely set. Is that another Sarissa job, or?
In the past, we tried to combine everything in the one little kind of template, and I quite like doing stuff like that. But you can't do fantasy and not really have those kind of big flame templates and stuff that we all kind of grew up with, our kind of wargaming and skirmish stuff. So managed to get Dave Needham to do like all of the artwork across everything. So he did those, and Sarissa had been advertising that they could do kind of colour printing onto MDF as well. So we got loads of different samples on different materials, and they did Perspex ones which were lovely, but were a bit more expensive. But actually, the MDF thing, there's a weird kind of lot of model effects that you get with it, and it just seemed just a bit retro and just worked. Everyone went, yeah, we like those best.
Yeah.
So we've got 5 of them now, because there's some new weapon effects and stuff that you can do. We've broadened that out as well. So there's like a beam for a lightning bolt and a barrier for like a wall of thorns or wall of force and that sort of stuff. And there we go, just like that.
Just like that.
So Dave's done all the lovely artwork for those as well. And that's another little added extra.
Donut template.
Donut!
So we've tried to sort of upgrade the quality of some of the components in there as well. So
really nice. But what I really took home out of your comment there, of course, was that there will be on the Crooked Dice website shortly upgradable parts purchasable shortly, where all those templates will be in acrylic.
I thought about it. Actually, I'm really pleased with the MDF
yeah.
ones, and I don't know if there's actually. I don't know if I always feel comfortable with doing that. We can have this, but then upgrade to that. That always seems a bit of a treat.
Okay. Joe Public, would you like to be able to buy acrylic parts? Not an upgrade, an alternate. Let us know in the comments below.
I could do them, but they were a bit dear enough. It was a bit of a con to ask people to kind of do both.
Have you seen the money these people spend on tat?
I know, but even so.
Grey Primer spends more than I earn on 40k miniatures. Now, the other thing, sorry, Brain's kind of playing catch up, and it's an important part from the students' point of view as well. Not really something you can answer. You can talk about it in a second, but boys and girls out there as well, when you get time, do check out the Crooked Dice website. Peter's already talked about the fantasy blog, which is on the Crooked Dice website, sorry. But on the Crooked Dice YouTube channel, there are a number of videos, behind the scenes design videos, that were literally ran and policed by the students. Peter is in some of them, Karl's in some of them. You can't get away without looking and listening to them. But a lot of the student body that was involved in the project is on there talking about their input, their experiences, their thoughts, the challenges that they met. And it would be a lovely wee mark of your appreciation if you can take the time out to go and check out some of those videos, give them a wee like, give it a wee comment, because again, they're all involved and they all see the feedback that those videos get to, and I know it means a lot when 3 people and my mum like our videos. So, you know, if even a few of you out of the viewers this morning can chase over there later on and watch some of those, it'll be greatly appreciated by everybody involved.
Bless it.
Yeah.
More of those coming.
Yeah. But that was a new thing this time round as well for both of you too, doing those kind of behind the scenes chats. You've done little bits for the blog previously, but this time it seemed to be a much more orchestrated, much more needed side of the development.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Oh, Karl, do you want to?
No, after you, Peter, go on.
Oh, no, I was going to say again, it was just that having the opportunity to be a number of months ahead of where we were with Pulp gave us the time to think about how we would kind of, you know, introduce the game to everybody and how we would support it and encourage people to kind of engage with it leading up to launch. Again, Karl, it was Karl's idea to make that shift after Christmas to a kind of, I suppose, sort of marketing mode, really, and give students the opportunity to engage with a marketing plan. Most of them had never seen one of those before. And with particular objectives and particular elements and aspects of work to do, in addition to what they'd done with the game design. The game was pretty much finished by sort of January, apart from proofreading and minor tweaks and the last sort of little inputs from playtesters. So it enabled us really to give them a whole new experience, and also to trail the game much more effectively than Pulp. Pulp kind of arrived at the UK Games Expo in 2019 with very little, I think, preamble. Karl trailed it quite a bit on the sort of Crooked Dice pages. But yeah, Fantasy was much more a kind of collective group kind of effort to kind of encourage people to engage with the process and sort of build the anticipation up, really, more than anything. I think we managed quite well.
It's all that sort of translatable kind of skills that we wanted to do as part of year 2 as well, to show what it's like to, you know, work with a commercial organisation, and marketing is part of it. And we've got Eddie, who was quite good because, you know, has stepped forward and hosted all of the videos and tried to learn some of those skills. We've had people writing either kind of scripts or content or questions for it. So again, it's just about expanding them out, their exposure to things that the students can write for, really. But yeah, it's been good doing those. We enjoyed that. And again, maybe if it hadn't been for COVID, we maybe wouldn't have thought of going, oh yeah, well, we can record it like this and do it. It's, you know, it's I think it's been quite fun to do that. I'll do it again, definitely.
It's personally, sorry, I was just going to say, personally, it's been lovely because you guys got me involved in recording them, but I was able to actually get to hear and appreciate an aspect of the design process. Because Karl, when we've chatted before, Karl's got a wild habit of kind of being quite blasé about things. He sort of slides over certain stuff, and yet when you listen to the students and you hear those conversations about, you know, oh yeah, you know, I had to watch 3 Conan films, and then try to think, how did I take that to that? Whereas Karl goes, oh yeah, so we've got Conan in there, and I was like, and so
it's tricky to articulate that. That's one of the challenges that over the last few years is trying to take that game design bit and that, how does that translate from kind of what you see and getting that nostalgia kind of across to the students. And thank God for Peter, quite frankly, being able to kind of make sense of my inane rambling. But the students seem to kind of take to that part of it really well. But it's quite tricky to try and articulate that and go, okay, well, I do it like this. It's sort of just, it's quite an internal process to kind of come up with it. But we had to turn that into something that was what was teachable, you know. So I think we managed it. But that's probably more Peter than me.
But no, it's a credit to you both in policing this too, because it was very apparent when we talked about pulp before, when you look at pulp, that when the students sat down to work with pulp as a concept had to be explained to them. It was like, what the band? My dad listens to them. And like, no, not the band. It's got nothing to do with common people. And then, you know, you came to fantasy, and whilst they knew about fantasy, they already had preconceptions. And then, and again, if you go and watch the behind the scenes videos, you'll hear little bits of this too, where Peter and yourself were able to sit down and go, yes, we know about Lord of the Rings, but have you considered this? And they're like, what? There's other fantasy?
I think Game of Thrones really kind of provided an orientation for students. Most people had either watched all of it or watched some of it. And I suppose from the 70s, fantasy has been a really inherent part of our culture. So even if you've never read any of it and you've only watched one or two movies, you've got the basic tropes in your head anyway. So when it came to doing the research for it, students already had an idea of what they were looking for. And once we started talking about archetypes, and we looked at the same kind of narrative patterns and character types that show up repeatedly in fantasy, the process gets quite a bit easier. Whereas pulp, really, really massively alienating for students. It's like, here's a load of stuff from the 1930s and 40s you want to go away and watch. That's 80 years ago. I mean, for me, that takes me back to before cinema began, you know, if I went back 80 years. And you think, oh, well, there's a problem there with that. And we're going to make you watch things that are, you know, really low budget and they run for 5.5 hours. So that was a bit of a struggle. It took longer for the pulp team to work their way through the cinema serials that we were looking at than it did to get through the fantasy movies and fantasy TV shows. Understandably, but it meant again that we picked up a little bit of time on ourselves, that the students for fantasy were so much quicker at getting through the material, even when the material was really, really, really straight to DVD bad. And I picked it up, you know, in B&M for 99p or something. Anything with dragon in, you know, dragon horde, dragon, or whatever it was, you know.
Dragon.
Really, actually feature a dragon.
One of the students weighs in the next morning going, I've watched every series of Dragon's Den and I just don't get how this is going to make a game.
How do we do a mechanic for the chairs?
Do we need the lift?
It was this, you know, what 7TV kind of is about is those tropes and in jokes and that awareness of kind of what those things are. And I would say with fantasy, the students had that shorthand a lot quicker. You know, if you'd say, oh, who's a trusted companion? Wouldn't take more than about 5 seconds for someone to go, well, Samwise, okay. You know, so that a lot of that was there. And it means that we got rolling really quickly. People kind of working on the profiles and knocking those out fairly early on. But as Peter said, with pulp, that took like another month or so, maybe even a little bit longer, to just try to get the sense of what they were. But yeah, we got some great stuff at the end of it. So it's I think it's beautiful.
Answering Jez's question about were any of the students gamers or fantasy fans, a lot of them were gamers, but sort of digital gamers. But there were some D&D players as well, which was really helpful. And surprising how students engage with different things. So one of the team was a real fan of Ray Harryhausen movies, which I didn't expect because, you know, they're quite old films now.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up watching them, but they're not really in the popular consciousness the way they used to be. So all of the students brought something slightly different to that sort of research process. And we just asked everybody, what's your favourite kind of fantasy? What movies have you watched and which movies do you like? And they got those first, really. So one student worked on Lord of the Rings and looked at distilling the archetypes out of that. Somebody else worked on the Ray Harryhausen movies, distilling the archetypes out of that. And then I don't know whether it was true for everybody. Everybody kind of got one that was not something you would really want to watch ever. And probably a shout out to, I think, Connor, who watched all of the Mythica films, I think, and D&D movies as well. So he really picked the short straw with some of those.
He got Carl's DVD collection to watch.
Even I don't own any of the D&D movies.
Yeah, there's a limit. Bless them. But no, do folks get and watch that, because the guys and girls of the team put a lot of work into this. So if you can check out the blog, check out the videos that they've done as well, it'll be appreciated. But importantly, as you are starting to get the picture of, get onto the Crooked Dice web store and order up yourselves a copy of Fantasy today. I mean, you can log off now. I mean, we're just going to talk rubbish now for the next 10 minutes. You've got the nuts and bolts of it. Go buy the game. That's all that matters. Jess Hunt's already gone and bought it. Carl's watching us. Carl's logged into the website to see how many people have bought it since we started talking this morning. Nobody. three refunds. Wait a minute. D&D.
I suspect we have hardcore people in here that would probably write on the pre-order. God love them.
I'm a Christmas present as well.
Slightly unrelated, but I do like the fact that somewhere in this chat, Justin replied to our Chocolate Ocelot as Chucky Forest Cat.
That's the nickname.
Yeah. So I don't think Fishboy's with us this morning, unfortunately. He's been feeling left out and he has been missing the shows. But now we have Fishboy and Chucky Forest Cat as two of our pet names for regulars. Grey Primer, I can't tell you what your pet name is. It's just the kind every time I see your name on the screen I go to mispronounce it, and we'll leave it at that.
Just wanted to pick up on what Justin asked. He said, do the students drive the direction and development, or is Grand Marshal Karl in charge? Grand Marshal Karl is in charge, but the students drive the direction. Well, they do drive the development, really, I think, in terms of they are the ones that designed the artifacts, selected and chose the artifacts and worked those up. The MacGuffins, they originated all of the trilogy cards. Most of the profiles came out of their reviewing and kind of engagement with the movies, and then the Encounters Guide as well. All of those kind of came out of what they'd watched and what they'd read, and they're all sort of kind of experience of watching movies sometimes when they were kids and that they remembered. So really, most of the ideas come from the design team, and then Karl and I kind of do the refinement of it. It's very much a collective product, driven by the imaginations of the nearly sort of 20 people that were involved with it for a couple of years. So very much student-led in that terms, but also, following Chief Cheese, Karl, who has an ultimate sanction on everything.
New nickname!
I want a big cheese hat now.
We're going to need to involve a different university department to do that. You've already got a big Lego head behind you, and it's yellow. It's like cheese. You can just wear that.
Chief Cheese.
Chief Cheese. I don't want to see the uniform or the medals that he gets. No, but again, it's relating to that. I mean, one of the videos that the students done and chatted about was the development and refinement of magic, and I mean, it was. Consummate professionals, everybody. Consummate professionals. And it was the development of magic. And it was that real sense of ownership that came across when they were talking about each of them taking like one of the fields of magic and working on the spells and what fitted and what didn't. And you could kind of see Grand Marshal Karl, the big cheese, kind of went, yeah, we need a magic system, and it's got to be bling, and it's got to be blang, it's got to be wah. The way Karl usually does kind of deliver salient messages. And then the students looked at Peter and he went, what he means
that is almost exactly how it happened.
is schools of magic. So why don't you look at these films and then develop the schools of magic? Right, okay, Karl's scary, isn't he? Yes.
We actually split off a magic team to work on the magic system and the books of magic. So we've got six sort of folios, little folios of magic, or grimoires as we've called them. So they're really, they're really lovely little books. That
They are
designed by Karl and Dave Needham, and they're really, really fantastic. And each one has six spells in. So we had a team, and the 6 students involved with that, the 6 interns involved with that, each designed the set of spells, and some we swapped around because some fitted in better with different schools of magic and things. And one of the team, Jonathan Robbie, just endlessly developed spells and ideas, and they were great. So quite a few of those ended up as special effects and star qualities on the undead profiles. So he worked on the necromantic stuff. So it was great. We really didn't waste very much. There were so many good ideas that came out. We were able to kind of reuse them and redeploy them all over the game, really, and again into the Encounters guide sometimes too.
So if we were at the expo today, chaps, obviously by now you'd be tired, you'd be hungry, you'd be wanting tea, you'd be wanting a bacon butty and a pea possibly too. That's not going to be the key to us. So what happens today with the goings on? How does the 7 TV launch for fantasy proceed once we log off and I get on with cutting the grass?
That's the shame that we can't kind of get there, but we're all going to have offline, so not to the public, but we're all going to have a little get together and have a virtual group hug sometime this afternoon, and just have a whoop. We haven't really got an agenda. It's just a well done. So that'd be quite nice. But because we can't be there, we're going to be dropping things during the day. So we've got the how to play video that will be coming later. There's a couple of parts to that. It's taking about 1 million years to render it to upload to YouTube at the moment.
Yeah.
So part 2 more tomorrow, because it's taking a while. But we've got those. We filmed. If you would have come to the expo, you may have played a demo game where a couple of the students would have showed you how to play. So we kind of recorded one of those when we were up in the uni the other week. So that's another bit of video content that we'll put out as well. There's some other stuff that we'll put up. There's an unboxing that War Games Illustrated have done, which is a lot of fun, which I think is live to the public now. So we'll be dropping stuff during today, and in the next couple of weeks, there's a load more content that we've got on that can go onto the blog. So there's more gaming stuff. There's more kind of meta background stuff on the studio as well. There's some brand new profiles for some things which will be freebies as well. So we're trying to keep a bit rolling. But yeah, today is just coming on and having a chat with you, and then we'll get together. We'll get together later. I'll probably put some little previews of bits up on the over kind of social media today as well, so people can kind of see what's coming.
Lovely. Folks, do this because you have your hand in this now too. I mean, you've got out of your beds, most of you, to watch this morning. So we can safely assume you already have some interest and love in it. So if you haven't already treated yourself this month, this week, if Grey Primer hasn't bought £200 worth of 40k, nip on to Crooked Dice, get your fantasy set ordered up, because you do, if you pre-order, you get a fancy figure at the minute, don't you, Karl?
You do for the rest of today. So if you order before basically midnight tonight, you'll get a free She's Our kind of lead character, also the Fearless, of which Peter and I are working on the first feature pack, which will be out hopefully in a couple of months. So she's our barbarian hero, who had a successful little trilogy of movies through our studio. So she's free today if you buy the box set.
Lovely stuff. So do that. While you're there, if you haven't treated yourself already, get yourself Apocalypse TV and Spy-Fi TV and all the rest of them while you're at it too. There's still the MacGuffins coming in the little box too, the all-important MacGuffins. Yeah. Some pictures are rolling past the screens for the good folks at home. Some of Karl's works in progress, but also some of the MacGuffins and little elements from the fantasy box set too, just to further tease you, just to try and tempt you away from a Sisters of Battle and to a different Sister of Battle for a day. And just think about it. For every copy of 7 TV Fantasy you get, a student doesn't go hungry today. I don't know what relevance that is to anything, but it sounds plausible.
A fairy gets their wings, I think is how it works. Is that not?
Yeah, it's
right?
bells ring and stuff like that there. And Peter gives everybody an extra % in their papers.
That'll be the day. Can I just reply to Justin, who says,
Yes.
Peter, are you taking applications for next year? The kind of thing we've been doing with Crooked Dice for the last 4 years as part of the creative writing degree. And yeah, we are taking applications for creative writing. And we're also, I think I can say this, I'm going to say it anyway, and then Carl can shout at me later. We've got our next project. The university's agreed our next project with Carl. So watch this space. We'll be doing something again, but this time it's going to be a 1 year kind of project, and we'll be developing a feature pack. Not too sure how many details I can give away about that. I think I've already.
As much as you like, Peter.
All right. Okay. So we're doing the first expansion or feature pack for 7TV the 80s, and it's going to be. It'd be like a John Hughes movie, scripted by Stephen King and directed by John Carpenter. I think is the best way of putting it. And maybe Robert Zemeckis is lurking in the background somewhere.
Take my money now. Carl, I'm just, you know the way, Carl, that we quite often these conversations immediately degenerate into suggestions of miniatures and the comments threads go alive. I'm going to kick straight off. If it's going to be an 80s box set, I need a Kevin Smith. Because I need a Silent Bob and Jay in this of some for other. I don't care what story they're going to be in. They will be in every story. I need my VHS shop dealers on the street packing.
There's quite a few miniatures that we've kind of wrapped up already, so I'll send you some secret previews.
Ooh. Nothing I like better than looking through my phone in the gloom and dark at the pictures you've sent me.
Please keep it clean.
That's as clean as I get. I want that movie. Yes, of course you want that movie. You see, this is where it starts now. As that begins to filter through to them, all their little heads will already be starting to swim with thoughts of the 80s. We need to get them swimming back to Crooked Dice and buying fantasy today, boys.
Right, you said as soon as we finish one, we're already starting on the next one. It's that can't help it.
Yeah. So go and buy your fantasy today before you forget, because tomorrow you're going to have to buy 80s 7TV. But of course, this is the joy, everybody, of 7TV. You do need them all. It's better than Pokemon. You've got to collect them all, because every box set is a different genre. It's different character cards. It's a different theme. It's a different setting. And I've said this in reviews before, and I stand by it. You lift the box, you read through it, and yes, at its heart, deep in its beating, warm bosom, it is the same game. But that's where the similarity ends. With every box, you get a completely different experience, you get a completely different flavour, and even though you're moving your tokens, you're rolling your dice, you're moving your wee people about the table, you get a different feeling out of the game that you play on the table. Unless possibly you use the same miniatures for every game and the same terrain, in which case, per you, buy some miniatures and terrain. Carl sells them too.
Bless you. Money's in the poke.
I wish it was. You can't afford me anymore. Anyway, we all do this out of love. Otherwise, there's no fun in doing it anyway. But gents, we've eaten up an hour of the morning. I literally, as I've said every time, I could sit here quite happily and chat away to you. Wouldn't annoy me in the slightest. I've got a funny feeling that yous have other things to do. You've got your little get together with the students. I do hope yous will pass on our own praise for their efforts. Everybody at Weegamers loves what you guys do. Everyone's been impressed with it. And you good folks out there, okay, you know what? You're not going to go and buy it today, maybe. But when you're done here today, share the video, share the posts on Crooked Dice that talk about 7TV fantasy, throw it onto your wall, throw it onto your groups. use the power of social media to spread the word, because this isn't about just Karl and being able to pay for repairing the hole in his roof and to buy some new special cheese. Peter doesn't get anything more out of this than the satisfaction of feeling good and the likelihood the university will continue his tenure for another semester. But those students will get a feel-good factor from seeing this spread and talked about in quarters that they would never have imagined, that no amount of copies bought or whatever can give them. You've seen the little minute of it when they unboxed the product they helped design. If they now see that social media has kind of come to life talking about it too, that will give them a feeling that nothing else will compete with for quite a long time in their lovely little lives. Jez has thrown in another one. I'll be grabbing it after lunch, using my wages from working day on fantasy TV series. That makes me happy. Best of luck, folks. That's the attitude, Jez.
Thanks, Jez.
And make sure you get all your friends to do it too, because they each need a copy, obviously, to play with you. They don't really, but you know, it'll not hurt. Right. On that note, gentlemen, is there anything before we call this meeting to an end and break the sign and all this? Is there anything you gents would like to throw out there or add to the discussion?
I think for me, I'd like to thank the community, the 7TV community, who have been brilliant over the last, since we started working with Karl. They've been really supportive, really encouraging, really fun. And I know I've appreciated that very much. And I know that the two sets of interns, the 4 sets of interns we've had really over the last 4 years have really appreciated it as well. I think it's really easy when you're at university to be kind of constantly bunkered down, just thinking about your work and your social life and things. And having a sense of being part of a wider community for whom you're making a real difference, for whom you're writing things that they enjoy and they play and they have fun with, has been fantastic. So my thanks to them, and as always, my thanks to Karl as well for being just a fantastic working partner and a good friend as well to me and to the university. So I appreciate that very much, and to our student teams,
hey guys,
whom are now working with it, which is great. So, finally, and by no means least, my thanks to you, Andy, for all the time you've put into filming our behind-the-scenes things, the support you've given us.
No probs.
None of this is achievable without all the kind of support and help and encouragement we've had from the community, and it's been brilliant. Thank you.
We're like our own little A-team guys.
I'd echo all that. There's loads and loads of people behind the scenes that contribute to kind of get us to this point. We've mentioned Dave, there's Kev Delimore with the photographs, there's all of the sculptors and the painters and all of those other people, Helena, Morgan, that kind of chuck in ideas, all of the play testers that we had that tried their absolute best to do what they could between various crazy lockdown situations in there. So Rob and Sean and Matt Slade, and Kieran, and I'm probably forgetting lots of other people as well, but there was a whole group of people in there that helped us out. So thank you. It's a massive team effort just to get that box to you, and most importantly to Anna as well for putting up with all of this for the last kind of 2 years and being magnificent support day in, day out. So God love you. But yeah, thank you very much.
It must be love, but we're over now. There was a little 80s throw in there for you. Big quick shout out to Spud and the Chilling Wargamers. They've just joined in literally as we're all saying goodbye. There comes the Chilling Wargamers. Do nip over and check them out. Big voices on Facebook and another lovely voice of positivity in gaming as well. Don't anyone tell him that we were having a wee poke at 40k earlier, okay? Shh, because he's quite fond of his orcs. But there we go, guys. That's it. Launch day. It's not over. It's just starting. And Jez is leading the charge with diving in straight after lunch and buying his copy of 7TV Fantasy. Make sure you do the same. It's not just the best fantasy game out there, but I mean, if Carlsberg get into wargaming, they're going to do a purchase bid to try and buy over 7TV. That's how good it is. All right. Carlsberg don't make wargaming, but if we did, we'd make 7TV wargaming.
To make that advert.
Yeah, This is the next step. I think this, before we go, I think in all seriousness, because we can't have it not would do something that isn't a bit silly. I think the next thing for 7TV is all these fictitious films and stuff. I think we need to start doing some silly videos. Even literally home movie quality jobs where we portray some of these stories as like trailers for movies that never happened from the Barron studio.
I want a really dodgy advert, you know, that the previews that you get before the main feature in there. The little adverts for the tandoori around the corner as well, I think would be quite good. We'll bolt all of those in.
Yeah.
There's always something car of ours. Can't remember what it was now.
But it'll be ideal.
Pile.
And then I think the next thing after that, we need to get Karl a 7TV radio channel. Just like a selection audio files that can be played during games that gives like sound effects and music appropriate to the movies. He's on it. He's on it already.
I am. The Renaissance man that is Stefan Andjolas, who is Handy Bigazor, in case anyone doesn't know. He did the front cover artwork to Pulp and many other things. He's multi-talented. He's now sculpting as well, God love him. He has done a soundtrack to 7TV that he's been sending me over the years. There's quite a few 7TV tracks. There's a Dr. Argo one, an Apartment X, and he did 3 or 4 for Apocalypse as well. We're getting to the point now where I think we've got enough for like a little album of stuff.
Yes.
So you can play that in, and he did the fantasy theme tune that's run behind all of the
yes.
videos as well. He did that. He is hideously talented and good looking to boot, which is it just seems unfair, really. Yeah, so that might be coming soon. We'll get back onto that once things calm down a bit.
Well, now you have to squeeze in a couple of 80s keyboard tracks, circa the John Carpenter homemade soundtracks.
Seriously, there's 3 or 4
on there
just like that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, right.
There we go. Obviously, the next thing is my phone's going to ring and I'll be just going, so you mean that when the next one comes out, we'll be able to do The Thing as a tabletop game? And I'll be like, oh yeah, now you want to play. Maybe. Karl, you better get ready now. You've seen the discussions in the community page about people wanting the generator from Lurkers. The next thing will be, Karl, can you do us a crashed UFO for a Thing scenario? Have you any idea how big that was?
A dustbin lid.
Yeah, there you go. Tables built. Go away, you idiots. I'm not made of money. Right, boys. Listen, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, as always, getting to talk to you. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Thanks to Spud, the Chillin' Wargamers, for dropping in there as well. They've given a nice wee shout out. Get over and like Crooked Dice. And you know what? Edge Hill University is a page, and normally people don't like get bothered about that. Go and give them a like too. make their social media manager wonder what the devil's going on. 22 people liked us on a Saturday morning. What? But there we go. We look forward to seeing your lovely pictures of your purchased 7TV fantasy box sets arriving with you folks. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, if Karl's free again, you can come on and tell us your own thoughts.
Definitely.
Yeah, there you go. And by then we'll have all lined up our ideas about the 80s, because fantasy will be old news by then, and we'll be all ready for the next thing, and we can just start the whole thing over again.
It's like that.
It's like that. Right, I'm going to switch to credits, which means you people at home get to look at pictures from 7TV Fantasy again and listen to the theme music, and we get to go away when I turn the microphone off. So until the next time, goodbye.
Thank you, Andy. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care now.
Thank you, Andy.